Good, I guess it's afternoon, so good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. Today I'd like to share some thoughts about the state of Manoa and the path forward. I've been in this job for about 7 months now, and it's given me, Kimmy is smiling. A lot has happened. What we thought might be a situation where there is a kind of caretaker operation and not much happening has turned out not to be the case. There's actually been a lot that's happened. There have been many challenges that have had to be confronted. Today, I want to talk mostly about the larger financial, fiscal picture of the university and the way forward. In doing that, here, let me get to my notes here. Otherwise, I'm going to drone on and on like the absent-minded professor I am. I'm going to talk today about the state of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. As a prelude, much of this talk is going to be about finances. And to give a preview of where this is trending in the talk, I'm going to propose that with the very serious belt-tightening, restructuring, and more systematic management and accountability systems that have already been instituted or that we are planning to institute, by the beginning of next year, that is beginning of the year 15-16, the fiscal situation will have stabilized, and we can begin the task of prioritization and what I'm calling selective rebuilding of our core university functions. This scenario assumes that we will stay the course with respect to planned tuition increases for Manoa. The talk is organized as follows. You can see I'm an academic here. First, we'll take stock of where we are as an institution in fulfilling our responsibility as the public flagship research university for Hawaii. Lest we get bogged down in the weeds of finances, it's worth reminding ourselves of who we are and what our values are and the ineluctable responsibilities that give shape to our decisions. I'll speak of our special responsibilities as a consequence of our unique situation. We're the only major research university in the state and the only such institution for thousands of miles, a major contributor to knowledge and understanding of Hawaii and the Pacific, to the quality of life in our society, and to the economic health of our state. Second, I'll speak in general terms about how we're doing. In brief, by every objective measure, we've been remarkably successful in many areas. We remain a great university despite the challenges of insufficient resources. Third, I'll speak of the specific challenges that face us, both as a consequence of our unique situation and especially as the result of heavy expenses, decreased state investment in higher education, especially in Manoa, and increasing reliance on personal funding, that is, on tuition funding. Fourth, I'll describe some actions that we've undertaken or are undertaking to try to stabilize the situation. And fifth, and finally, I'll talk about the way forward over the next couple of years. As a preliminary, however, I'd like to speak a little about the nature of a university. As a preliminary, actually, I'd like to say something else. As a preliminary, let me say something. I'm wearing this lei. Why am I wearing this lei? It's actually an interesting story, and it reflects, I think, a beneficial change in the way we view things. I'm wearing this lei because a couple of days ago, I was working on the letter of acceptance to people who come to this university. We were imagining, you will laugh when you think of this, how old-fashioned we are. We were imagining people waiting at their mailboxes, hoping for that letter, standing out there, postman, postman, what do you have for me? You open the letter and you say, I've been accepted at the University of Hawaii. So we were crafting this document that was going to be exciting to people. But, you know, then we thought, this is crazy. Nobody is waiting for the postman to deliver anything. That's actually not the way it works. So this actually represents a move into the 21st century, at least the beginning of the 21st century. So yesterday, I spent a good hour in the morning of taping a video acceptance, which, so now if you're accepted you can, if you want, wait patiently by the mailbox, but nobody is going to be waiting patiently by the mailbox. They are going to receive a link that will get a personal welcome from me on video. I mention that only because it suggests that things are changing and we're at least trying to move forward with the time. So that's the story of the lei. It's a nice lei, too. But back to serious matters. As a preliminary, I'd like to speak about the nature of a university. Too often we act as if our fundamental purpose is simply to grant degrees, quickly and cheaply. But while degree production and cost containment are important, they are really not what a university is for. A university is at its base to preserve knowledge and understanding, to transmit knowledge and understanding, to create new knowledge and understanding, questioning the old, discovering new puzzles, exulting in finding out that we were wrong, in being confronted with our ignorance. Manoa is a university, and university is a place of exploration. We're explorers. It's fundamentally about enlightened knowledge. It's not an accident that our motto on the seal is Malamalama. That's what it's about. The motto on the seal is not 55 by 25, or it's not it's about Malamalama. It's not about higher earning potential. It's about Malamalama. Now, it is right, very right, that we're concerned, very concerned with graduation rates, degree production, cost effectiveness, rankings, accreditation, allocation schemes, and the like. However, I don't want us ever to lose sight of what it's really all about, which is Malamalama. In order to understand where we are, we need to understand the larger context in which we operate. The context presents significant challenges, but also gives us potentially significant advantages. So I want to start here with the highest level. Who are we? We are the public flagship research university of Hawaii. Let me try to unpack that a little, because all of those four components define what we are, and they also give us constraints with respect to the actions we can take and special responsibilities that we have to fulfill. We are the university, not a university in Hawaii. We are it. It is not as if there's a whole bunch of public research universities in Hawaii. We are the, not a, research university in Hawaii, and that uniqueness gives us special duties, and the society has a right to expect special things of us. We're public. That is, we have a responsibility, and specifically as a land-grant institution, to the larger society, to its economy. It means that we need to interact with the people. We need to interact with the legislature. We are not a university that can stand by itself doing just what we want to do. We have a central responsibility to the public. And we're a flagship. We are not just a university by itself. but we are the flagship, the leader in a higher education system. I think we have a cute slide about that. Actually, there we go. There's supposed to be little dots there showing, you get the concept. The concept is we are not alone. We are part of this system. And the fact that we're part of the system also constrains what we have to do and gives us special responsibilities with respect to the rest of the system. Next, we're a university, not a state college, not simply a degree producing institution, but we are a university in the senses that I talked about before. And in a word, it's about malama. Finally, we are of Hawaii. And I say not that we're not a university in Hawaii, we are University of Hawaii. That is to say, we are rooted in Hawaii, we are part of Hawaii. So we're not just an institution that happens to be located here. We are part of our society. That includes specifically a commitment to the indigenous people and culture of this land. So we need to be of Hawaii. The people of Hawaii expect that as the only public flagship research university will fulfill a range of core academic responsibilities. And if you'll permit me to repeat something that I've said probably too often, I think there are 6 prime areas of core educational responsibility. First, we have to provide a quality undergraduate liberal education, a full range of standard undergraduate majors. We have to have undergraduate specialties suited to our special strengths. We have to have, in some cases, unique undergraduate majors or special versions of standard majors reflecting our context. We need graduate education in areas of special excellence, again, reflecting our context. We have a commitment to research and knowledge, especially a knowledge that matters to the people of Hawaii. And finally, we have important service function to the university. Let me, at the risk of repeating myself a little, say something a little about each of those 6 areas. The reason it's important to budget concerns, let me try to be concrete here. The reason that these things are important to budget concerns is that for a university that is, I'll put it sort of negatively, for a university that is not a flagship, not part of a system, or a university that is not separated by thousands of miles from the next university, for a university that is not the only university for thousands of miles, for a university that is not a center of research, there are opportunities for cost savings and budget cutting that are not available to us because of our responsibility as the flagship research university of Hawaii. Maybe I can be more concrete as we go along here. Our first core responsibility is for undergraduate liberal education. This is education for citizens of a free society. It is institutionalized and realized concretely in our general education system, but we need to move beyond that, of course. It's realized in institutional learning outcomes, assessment, high-impact educational practices that must pervade and undergird liberal education. The children of Hawaii must be able to get as good an undergraduate liberal education here as anywhere. Otherwise, it's off thousands of miles to do that. So we can't rely on someone else to do that. This is where that happens. Second, because of our being the only major research university, again, for thousands of miles, I think I actually have an illustration of this there. There are the thousands of miles, right? We also have a responsibility to offer the full range of undergraduate specializations majors that one would expect a whole higher education system to provide to its citizens. In some mainland education institute systems, one university can safely say, we won't do this, with full confidence that there's a university down the road that can fulfill that responsibility. That is not the case here. If we, when we eliminate something here, we eliminate it from the entire state. Third, there are areas of knowledge where we have a special responsibility to offer undergraduate specializations that are not generally offered. So let me back up a little. So that second point had to do with a full range of majors. The third point has to do with undergraduate specializations that are not generally offered, perhaps at other institutes. To use a restaurant metaphor, these are the specialties of the house on the menu. Hawaiian studies is an obvious example, and there are many others. We offer Hawaiian studies, Hawaiian language, Southeast Asian studies, ethnobotany, global environmental science, Asian and Hawaiian theater, Indo-Pacific languages, and many other unique programs that are not sort of part of the standard canon of undergraduate majors. And even our standard majors often have a special focus that reflects our place. For example, the French BA has a focus on the French Pacific. Our programs in geology and geophysics have a natural focus on volcanology, marine geology, paleoceanography, and the like. Our undergraduate programs in religion emphasize comparative and world religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Hawaiian religion. We have a BA in Hawaiian music. Our philosophy department's programs aim to facilitate the philosophical dialogue between East and West, with special strength in the rich philosophical traditions of India, East Asia, the Buddhist and Islamic worlds. So not only do we need to have a good liberal education, the normal canon of recognized majors that you would expect in a higher education system, we also have a responsibility for these specialties that reflect at the undergraduate level our area of expertise. Fourth, we have a responsibility to offer graduate education, again, in our fields of excellence. To save time, I won't list all of the things that we need to do. And fifth, we have a responsibility for basic and applied research for the advancement of human knowledge and understanding. Again, not in all areas, but in areas of special strength. Sixth, and finally, we have a responsibility of service to our community and the world. Now, these areas, these six, modulo some Hawaii-specific emphases, are the general core areas of a major international flagship research university. Every good flagship research university has to deal with those areas. We have, again, the special demand of attention to the needs of Hawaii. But in addition, because of our unique position in the state and the location of our island home, the people of Hawaii also expect that our university will include things that not all research universities do have. In particular, we have a medical school. There are major research universities that do not. But the people of Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, expects us to have that medical school. It is important. The Cancer Center is an example of such a thing. A Division I athletics program is something that the state expects us to have. We have, I think, a responsibility to the people of Hawaii to fulfill those expectations. We have also a law school, a college of business, an agricultural college, including an extension service administered by the university. That is not true in all places. So that in addition to the sort of standard core menu of things, we have several other things that would not necessarily be found in every research university. So the demands on us are very great. more than if we were San Jose State, it would be different. If we were UC Santa Cruz, it would be different. If we were Stanford, it would be different. But as the only public flagship research university in the state of Hawaii, we have a range of responsibilities that are, I used the word earlier, ineluctable. I love that word. Things that we cannot run away from. They are burdens that we, not burdens, they are challenges that we have to accept. How are we doing? There's a nice slide. We actually have bachelor's degrees in 97 fields, doctoral degrees in 51 fields. How are we doing in delivering the benefits of higher education locally, creating a better educated citizenry and workforce, providing continuing education, training Hawaii's health professionals, lawyers, teachers, engineers, sharing knowledge with the public and local industry? By every objective measure, we're doing a good job in our educational responsibility to create an educated citizenry. The number of undergraduates has increased from 2008 to 2009 from about 4,500 to 5,000. So the number of graduates is increasing. Our 4- and 6-year graduation rates have been steadily improving, very significantly. Our 6-year graduation rate has moved from about 45% to 56%. I'm sorry, I don't have the figures here. You can see them. Our 4-year graduation rate is still low, but the difference is substantial over a very short time, so that despite the challenges, we're producing more graduates and we're producing them in a shorter amount of time. By every external measure, we're also doing extremely well. In 2011, we received a 10-year accreditation from WASC. This is the longest possible term given in WASC for an accreditation. It's also the longest of any institution in the state, including every institution, other institution in the University of Hawaii system. WASC's report praised Manoa's progress in glowing terms. Not only that, our professional programs, medicine, business, law, engineering, education, social work, nursing, and architecture have all been accredited without qualification in recent years and with flying colors. So the view, let me step aside here for a second. It sometimes puzzles me. I go outside the university, especially outside Hawaii, and I say I teach at the University of Hawaii. I go to people at major research universities, and they are impressed. They say, University of Hawaii, that's a great institution. Prophet is without honor in his own hometown, I guess, but it's ironic that here we are, one of the world's great universities. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to carp a little bit here. We need to make that story clearer here at home. People know, people who are in academia know what a great university we are, and we need to make that clear. The external evaluations are extremely impressive. Let's see. In research, we are among the top 30 public universities for research. The National Science Foundation ranks Manoa as one of the top 30 public universities in federal funding for engineering and science. And UH Manoa 49th overall in research. Remember, that's 49 among many hundreds. This is a very good ranking. Our research enterprise is highly successful. The 2014 academic ranking of world universities, a very important world university ranking system, ranks us in tier 3 out of 6 total tiers. And here our competition is not just American universities, but the competition of the universities of the world. The academic ranking of world universities groups people into not individual places when you get up to the beyond places 1, 2, 3 in the small numbers, but in ranks. We're in rank 3 of 6 total tiers. We are in the 151 to 200th place out of 500 international universities. This is really very good. We generate over $300 million a year in extramural funding. Our research has had an impact. It matters, to use a phrase that we've been using before, research that matters. We're discovering new freshwater resources underground. We're enabling more renewable energy and stable electricity grids through our research. We're sharing knowledge with the public and with local industry. We're improving local agriculture, both crops for export and local consumption, improving sustainability. We're exploring our place in the universe. I wish I had a slide of Lani Nui a Kea. Gunter has given me such slides. I'm sorry I didn't make it up. It's beautiful to see. We're improving cancer care and cures. We're combating invasive species. We're evaluating the risks of sea level rise. We're protecting coral reefs. In general, we are a very important entity in Hawaii. Our research has made differences. Our research is generating vast sums of money, and we are a very highly ranked institution. But, and now here comes the so we are a great university for many reasons. We are actually doing quite well by many objective measures, in fact, by virtually any objective measure that I've been able to obtain. However, we have challenges. Some of these challenges are specific to us, and some are general to higher education throughout the United States. Our specific challenges are really two. One is the increasing cost of payroll, energy, and capital improvements. All of those are going up significantly. At an earlier presentation in November, we tried to talk about some of the reasons for this. But most important, and this we share with all higher education, there is decreasing state investment in higher education here in Manoa in particular, and a shift from public funding to personal financing. The bottom line is that state investment in the flagship is down by about $60 million since 2009. That's a lot of money. And only about $30 million has been made up in tuition. So we are being put in a challenging position of trying to fulfill the full range of responsibilities that we have to the state with significantly diminished resources. And I know all of you have felt that difficulty in your departments, in your colleges, personally over the last couple of years. Let me say, I think this is, I wish I could say I think things will change quickly, and that the social contract that used to value higher education as a social good and thus permitted people to attend university and afford it by working during the summer. I wish I could say that I believe that that will be rolled back and that the good old days will come again. I don't think that's true. I think when we look across the country, when we look at Hawaii, this is the new normal. This is a case where we will have much less funding from the state for the foreseeable future. I mean, we can hope that that will change, and I think it can be made to change in small amounts. But we are not, in the next couple of years, going to get that $60 million of operating money back. It's just not going to happen. We are going to have to learn to fulfill our responsibilities with this lower level of funding, and also with a shift from social funding, from public funding, to funding from the students who we serve. The clearest concrete evidence of what's happening can be seen in now we're sort of in the weeds of cash balances, but I'll try to have a limited number of slides in this area. But let me point out what this one is about. This is the ending cash balance of the tuition and fees special fund. This is essentially our university's, that portion of our university's operating budget which can be carried forward, which has a balance at the end. It fell by roughly $30 million from fiscal 2012, that is the 11-12 fiscal year, to the 13-14 fiscal year. It also fell by another, let's see, the 69-39, by about another $30 million in the fiscal year ending 2014. That's the last academic year, the 13-14 year. So that's not good. We're seeing declines in the bank balance of $30 million a year. That is very much largely the consequence of lack of funding of higher education. I'll return to this slide, but this is the most concrete bellwether of what's happening. And you can see this line is zero. I'm not going to I will talk later on about this. But I'll give you a little preview of what I'm going to say. This red line is what we don't want. This green line, this sort of Manoa green line, it's not an accident that I picked an optimistic color there, is what we do want. We want to level off that decline, stabilize it, and get us into a position where we can begin to grow and restructure. That's what our goal is. But let me tell you a little more about that in a moment. As a result, I'll read this. I think this is just what I said, but as a result, we've been running an operating deficit during the past several years, most clearly seen in the falling cash balances in the tuition and fees special fund, which declined about $30 million over the 2012-13 fiscal year, and then by another $30 million during the 13-14 fiscal year. Over the past few months to a year, we have been doing a lot, and some of you have felt this pain in order to address these challenges. Some of the things we've done haven't caused pain directly, the pain of belt tightening or dieting, but they were necessary in order to get a clear picture of where we are. One thing we did was review the Cancer Center. We now have a clearer picture of the financial challenges there. We don't have all the solutions, but we at least know with reasonable clarity what the cost side of that equation is. And within a few days, we will have a report to the Board of Regents about the fiscal state of the Cancer Center. We have proposed a new organization of JAMSM and the University of Hawaii Cancer Center, something that we believe will cause significant efficiencies and make it more likely that that part of our operation in Kaka'ako can be made viable over the long term. We've begun working groups to clarify system Manoa functions. Some of you may know that there is often much unclarity and who does what in those areas, resulting in duplication and inefficiencies. We have 4 working groups in cooperation with the President trying to straighten out those areas. And I believe that there will be opportunities for efficiency and some money saving there. I don't want to talk about it in detail, but we also have reformed the legislative request process in conjunction with the system and the Board of Regents. This year, it would be an exaggeration to say we were terribly successful at getting vast sums out of the legislature, but our efforts have been much better organized, and I'm much more optimistic about next year than I would have been 6 months ago. I think we're moving in the right direction there. We've also done serious belt tightening, what one might be called academic deferred maintenance. I don't know if I really like that. Some people like that term. I don't know if it's the right term, but we have, we understand what deferred maintenance means with respect to buildings. I think we are in a state that reminds me of that with respect to some of our academic programs. But that means that the same way that we're going to, with regular deferred maintenance, we will have to make hard decisions about priorities. Not everything can be maintained in its present form. Some things will probably need to be torn down. So that's the way we're going to have to move forward. Concretely, what we've done, and some of you, especially the deans among you, have known how this works. Those units with a fiscal 14 carryover balance were asked to maintain the level for fiscal 15. That is to say, what I've been calling fly level in those cases. Those units in deficit have presented their plans to eliminate deficits, and according to following board policy, all units have been asked to maintain at least a 5% reserve. Board of Regents policy sets a target reserve of 16% of operating expenses. Very difficult to maintain, although some units are making progress in that direction, but a minimum of 5%. That actually is necessary just to keep things running smoothly. You can imagine what it's like if your bank account is empty at the end of every month. We need not to have that happen. So in order to achieve this, there has had to be serious belt tightening. This has meant that individual units have often been not hiring. I guess I'll do the slides in order. We are beginning to focus on accountability. We intend to adopt a fiscal year 16 budget, and again, the dean's fiscal officers among you know that you've received budget instructions, templates to fill out that will allow departments to plan for the fall. So we are instituting an annual budget process, standard across the university. We are reinstating regular reviews of the budget. So annually, at least, budgets will be reviewed by cognizant vice chancellors and in some cases by the chancellor. We have instituted a system, we've begun to institute a system of quarterly budget to actual reports so that we can track how things are going during the year. Budget performance will be an explicit part, always implicit, but now an explicit part of Dean Director's annual performance review. This means that we'll be tracking things much more closely. holding people accountable for those budget goals. I should say also that the quarterly budget to actual reports will be presented to the Board of Regents and to the UH system. That may sound onerous, but it's actually a very good thing. One of the things that impedes us in moving forward is convincing the public, the regents, the legislature, and others that we have accountability systems in place, that we actually know what we're doing. And though it may seem arduous, silly, even unnecessary to do quarterly budget to actual reports, the benefits that we reap in credibility are, I think, well worth the effort. We intend to adopt a new approach to allocation. The budget committee that was assembled last fall worked hard in the fall. In January, came up with some preliminary suggestions, including an interim plan, which people are calling the 38.5% solution. I had intended to try to change that to 40 to make it more memorable, but 38.5 has been said so often now that it's become memorable in itself. So the 38.5% solution, as you know, will return to units, that is colleges and other operating units, a proportion of the tuition collected by the university based on a measure of how many students they serve. Some combination of, as you know, of student semester hours, graduates, and majors. Colleges have received preliminary information about allocations for next year in order to plan budgets, and those projections include allocations based on this formula. There's not vast sums of money here being reallocated yet, but at this stage, it's already beginning to make some minor adjustments in the way that the university allocates its money. This is not just it's not just a kind of mechanical exercise too. This reflects in some way a philosophical position. The idea is that as funding to the university becomes increasingly dependent on tuition paid by students, it makes sense that to some extent, to the extent that we can manage, that tuition returns to the units where those students are studying. So that's the sort of philosophical rationale of taking a percent of tuition and allocating it by a measure of studentness reflects that philosophical position. For those of you who are in organized research units, this is not that different from what we use for the allocation of a portion of RTRF, which is allocated to units based on a measure of research productivity, in this case, a very simple measure on dollars generated. So what we're trying to do is to extend that notion of giving the money to the units where the activity is that money is associated with. We're trying to develop that philosophy here as well. It's happening slowly, but it's hard to turn a battleship on a dime. We also are, I'm going to return to that in a moment. We also are involved in a strategic planning exercise coordinated with the system's strategic directions that will help give us priorities as we move during next year to figure out what the future holds. I've mentioned that we're doing rigorous fiscal review of units so that they will fly level. We're also considering potential reorganizations and consolidations of units for effectiveness. This doesn't always, part of the problem is to save money. Another part of the problem is to try to be, if you have less money, is to try to be more effective given that money. So some of the proposals that we've made for reorganization won't directly save a lot of money, but they should make it more possible for people to live under the constrained environments that we have presently. At the risk of getting ahead of consultations, in order not to get ahead of consultations, because I don't want to risk doing that. I don't want to talk about too many of the things that were going on, but PBRC, we hope to be able to integrate within SOAST. That should create some efficiencies. This consultation is still going on in that matter. At a more dramatic move, which I'm not sure exactly how it's going to end up, but there's been discussions among the faculty and department chairs of languages, linguistics, and literature on the one hand, and arts and humanities on the other, to see whether a combined dean's office might be able to be more effective in supporting those units. Again, consultation is at an early stage there. I think it's probably a good idea, but we'll need to do a lot of exploration there. And we're thinking of other things of that type. We've done some reorganizing in the Chancellor's office for greater efficiency, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those. Those have definitely affected the way we work in the Chancellor's office. I believe we're more effective. It hasn't made us rich overnight, but it's not just about saving money. It's also trying to be more effective in what you do under constrained circumstances. As I said, colleges and departments and other units have been doing a lot of belt tightening. This is where the academic deferred maintenance comes into play. There has been postponement or abandonment of implementation of new programs and certificates. A couple of examples in education, ELL, STEM, reading and educational technology programs that we had hoped to establish, those have been delayed because of the constrained resources. Departments and colleges are not hiring. Faculty size is decreasing. Position vacancies resulting from failed searches in fiscal 14, that is academic 13-14, are not being filled. In many colleges, searches that had been planned during 14-15 were canceled. Tenure line faculty contracts that were not renewed for fiscal 14-15 were not replaced. Positions vacated due to retirements are not being filled. In many cases, faculty members who are currently in executive managerial positions outside the college are not being replaced within their departments. The Department of Second Language Studies is down one faculty member because I'm interim chancellor. And you all have stories of that kind. The number of filled faculty positions has fallen by a little less than 5% since between 2009 and 2014. I expect that when we take census at the start of next year, 15-16, we will see that there are many more unfilled positions. Sabbatical leaves in some colleges are being approved only for annual sabbatical leaves and not for semester sabbatical leaves. I think that here I'm going to be a little bit gloomy. I think that it's, given the fiscal situation, this somewhat decreased faculty size also represents a new normal for us, that it will not actually be easy to increase by 10%, say, the size of faculty over what we have under the current circumstances. That will mean that what's happening now will have to turn into a sort of stable baseline that will require both university level and college level reprioritization to figure out, of those, you're not going to be able to replace everybody one-to-one. That's just not going to be possible under the circumstances. The faculty will probably be smaller during the next 4 or 5 years. That will mean that decisions will have to be made about where those hires are made. These will not be easy decisions. The university itself can provide guidance in general terms, but my view is that most of those decisions are actually best made at the college or department level, because it is there that people have the best understanding of what's actually being needed. I can see that I'm running out of time, so let me quickly get to this slide, which is an important one. Here's the good news. I talked about the 30 million decline there between those two, the 30 million decline there. This is the present. This dot is the projected place at the end of this year. There's still the decline, but it's actually about half of what it was in the future. So we have succeeded in significantly, over the past year, we've succeeded in significantly, basically we've been halving. We've succeeded in halving that rate of decline, cutting it in half. Actually, it's not quite in half. It's more like, this is more like 17 million, not 15 million. And that's good. The good news is that there is a planned schedule of tuition increases for the university as a whole, adopted by the Board of Regents some years ago. If we are able to stay the course with respect to that, and if we are able to continue in our current fiscal conservatism, then this line, which would otherwise plunge us to below zero, even at the present rate, will level off. So this is fiscal 16. So the prediction we have is that if we can maintain the course internally, and if we stay the course with respect to the tuition adjustment, we will be leveling off and slightly increasing over the next 2 years. I think that's good news. It's not the good news of being back here again, but it's the good news of being in a position where things are sufficiently stable over the next few months to a year, where we can begin to, as a university, reassess where we are and figure out where we need to go next. Let me finish up here quickly. I'm sorry that I'm not going to have much time for questions. The planned tuition increase for 15-16 should bring spending into balance more or less with income. If we stay the course, the decline in the tuition and fee special fund should be arrested. If there should be an increase in state G funds, that would be helpful and give us a bit more flexibility, but it would be imprudent to rely on that. I hope we can do that, but I don't think we should rely on that. In this new stability system, where we're no longer crashing, we must reassess and selectively build and renovate, and in some cases, I think, decide not to renovate. So some units that are in bad shape will probably need to be abandoned. The strategic directions will begin to be acted on, and we'll be able to use those to guide selective rebuilding. The interim allocation scheme should get more money to level 5 units. We haven't talked much about it, but the Budget Committee is also working on a longer-term, more radical reconceptualization about how internal allocation is done based on some measure of revenue and activity. And with that, I think we will be in a good position to be stable and to be planning for the future. So I'm relatively confident. In fact, I'm extremely confident that there is a way forward. It will require some discipline, but I think we're on the right track. It will also require over the next year where things will, with pretty good luck, not with good luck, it's not luck, with the existing behavior that we've established, things will become stable and we will be able to address the situation better. So that's where we are. I didn't plan to talk the same. No professors are like that. We have maybe 2 or 3 questions for...